Okay, folks, we've arrived after a small break. We're back for the next episode of the Challenge Series 2022. This week it is the European Circuit Tours. All the races taking place exclusively on tracks, obviously located in Europe. It's about as simple as it gets. The European Circuit Tours, tour of circuits that are European. Who would have thunk it, you know? There's not a ton else to really say on the matter, so we'll just head into the races. We're here for the first race of the episode. We start off with a 625 category race at Brands Hatch. Probably the weirdest racetrack name I've ever heard in my life. Seriously, where did that name come from? As the POV driver is Emi Ibarazaki. Already up 2 places, and we've only done 2 corners. This is a touring car track first and foremost, so something like the Integra or the Volkswagen Scirocco up ahead will probably feel relatively natural here. But then again, it also was an F1 track at one point, so honestly it's open season. Over to Yoshiro Casquette, who I think is making her first actual start in the Challenge Series for this year. She's had the car the whole time, she just hasn't signed up for any events. Traffic can be awkward here. This isn't really a super wide circuit. She's gonna send it on Nico Yazawa and kind of run her into the not sand, that's just grass. Sand's a bit further away. I don't think it's the cleanest move, but she's made it, and we have an absolute cluster up ahead. Drags Carson and Katana with ease, but is boxed in between the MR2 and Ellie Ayase. Ellie and Emmy. That's a bit of confusing naming. Almost finds herself in the sand. Outbreaks Shoji into turn 1, nearly gets spun by McIntosh, who's trying to seize the opportunity. They're 3 wide heading towards turn 3, but Hakure backs out. Carson almost forces McIntosh off of the circuit entirely. And then speaking of forcing, Emmy gets into the back of Ellie, who I think broke a little later than the Integra driver had anticipated her doing. The 2 Toyota drivers in the back fighting for 10th place. Yazawa has the better power. Tano, well, he certainly thought about it, but there just isn't enough room on this track to think of a move like that. And he's overtaking the M3. The next car to overtake is the one that's probably the most different from her own car. The 90s front-wheel drive JDM versus a late 70s rear-wheel drive muscle car. Obviously the little Integra can break a lot later than that Pontiac, and she's almost onto the podium positions. She's now on the podium positions, screeches ahead of Minami. But there's no room there to go on the outside of the Silady. And she'll just cut back, get a really good turn 1 in. Brakes kind of passively into 2. I'm surprised that nobody attempted to retaliate. Neither Kotori nor Natsuki tried to pass her back from that. I think actually they were busy fighting amongst themselves since Kotori took the place away from Natsuki as well. Emmy tries the outside on Travis Wild. Awkward to hold there, but she did, so she got the better exit. Kotori is all over the back of the Porsche herself, and she's trying to sort of capitalize on Travis being a little bit disoriented. I think they made a bit of contact there. They make more contact. Kotori just about boxes Travis Wild out of the way, and she takes second place. The racetrack is quite spread out at this point, other than this happening in the back. Shoji clearly came into this race ill-prepared. He started, I think, in like 6th or 7th, and he's going to end up in the bottom 3. We are on the final lap of the race. My dad's caught Natsuki, but other than that, the rest of this race, the finishing order seems to be pretty much set, for the most part. Emmy didn't exactly pull away like I'd expected her to, but she's still definitely comfortably in the lead, and that fastest lap is further evidence. A lap that she looks like she's probably going to improve on as she crosses the finish. It's a win for the front-wheel drive enthusiasts. Emi Ibarazaki takes the victory for the first race of the European Circuit Tours at Brands Hatch. 2 more European cars round out the podium, but the leading European driver is some ways back. Wow, I didn't even realize that. Sebastian Scham is the only driver that showed up for the first race of the European Circuit Tours that's actually European. He's the only one. There are quite a few European cars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but only 1 European driver. The Challenge Series does have quite a lot of saturation with the American and Japanese drivers. Germany and Italy have the third and fourth most drivers in them, but neither category has more than 3 people in it. So, very much have our predetermined categories. It's if you're in the Challenge Series, there's like a 40% chance that you're from North America or Japan. And North America, obviously, including the singular Mexican and the singular Canadian driver at the moment. The one Canadian being Alice Carson, and the one Mexican being Pablo Hernandez. They were both in this race, so there was some cultural diversity. It's just that none of it was Europe. Anyway, on to the next event. For the second race of the episode, we head to the Nurburgring Gp Circuit for a 675 category race. At least that's dominantly what the grid is. Actually, no, I think that is just entirely what the grid is. I think it's just 675 cars. As the perspective is placed on mostly on Dedrick Schwartz and his Tuscan Speed 6. It's a little bit tail happy, to say the least. But it's very light, and the engine is a very balanced, delicately balanced piece of engineering, so it accelerates like a rocket even with only about 300 horsepower, as Barbara Page just gets intimidated by Schwartz's presence and nearly spins the car. There aren't many Europeans here either, other than Schwartz himself. I think the only other Europeans in the race are Dom DePrisco, June Summers, and Morris Zolna. As we just flip to the camera to see Schwartz just about botch it going through the Schumacher S's. Oh no, Barbara Page is in the race, right. I was like, I think there's one more, but... Oh, and this is the French flag, as June Summers just missed or something? What happened there? Oh yeah, just too much power. All that horsepower in that V8 Vantage clearly did her no favors. Schwartz, not expecting the braking there, just runs right into the back of that truck. Luckily, it's a truck. It's pretty hard to phase with a mere 1-ton sports car. Solno doing an impromptu demonstration of his drifting skills that he doesn't usually have. That more looks like his panicking skills than his drifting ones. Again, mainly because he doesn't really have any drifting skills, at least none that I'm aware of. Huge slipstream and just screeches ahead of Taniguchi. Morris Zolna sends it on his outside even. Doesn't really produce anything though. Honestly, Morris's car kind of looks like it'd be a drift car. It's even got the whole Monster Energy look. It's the European Circuit Tours, but it's being dominated by Japanese people in European cars again. Miyako Katsumi making her first appearance in the Challenge Series this season. Driving her Z8, is currently the leader over Maki Nishikino in her Maserati Gran Turismo. Hana Song, representing South Korea, the only Korean driver in the category, or just in general. Representing the country both with the flag and with the model, driving a Genesis G70. Schwartz got a massive run out of the S's, gives Scott Webber a tag. I don't know if that's supposed to represent something or what, but I don't know. My dad out of control, out of that corner. Schwartz seizes the opportunity, maybe. There's a lot of horsepower in that RCF, though. Apparently not enough. It is also very heavy. Still not ready for the braking. Honestly, I don't know why the AI do that. Outbrakes the Korean very easily, but also almost outbrakes himself. Has to contend with the wheel spin. Only 330 horsepower, I think, and this thing still makes that much wheel spin. Speaking of wheel spin, Maki about loses control out of the last turn. I would say it's a drag race, but not much. Excuse me. It's a very orderly fashion right now. Oh goodness. Schwartz finds himself right on the back bumper of that Beamer. He's got to run, he's going to take it into what I guess is going to be like, what, turn 4 or 5? They bump. And Schwartz, with a lot of curve and a bit of a collision, is the new leader. Now it looks like he will just simply drive away. He's got the home track advantage, despite what that flag on the leaderboard says. Cedric Schwartz is definitely a German. He grew up in Munich. Katsumi would still do quite well to make her first appearance in the series and claim second if she can stay there. Especially in a car that doesn't really take me as a performance race car compared to the ones behind. But Nishikino is visibly struggling with traction in this Maserati of hers, so... Whereas a Katsumi, with the noticeably lighter vehicle, honestly isn't. The race remains basically single file. It looks like Thrasher's got enough of a run to possibly change that on Dakota Kingsley. He's gonna maybe look for a... never mind. The truck is too wide for the Mustang to fit there. He will instead try to fit on the outside, but with... neither of them know how to apply the throttle there. So they both slide and Thrasher makes no progress. I forgot about the zoom in button. That's such a weird thing that you have the ability to do, is just zoom in. Sometimes it honestly doesn't even look like it is zooming in, and you time it with the camera zooming itself in automatically. There's a lot of guys, even on these racing tires, that are just not having the greatest time with corner exits. My dad definitely among them, as I've seen him break loose on exits a lot of times. He's trying to put some pressure on Song, but has had no success. Instead, I think he might have just pressured himself. Does Weber take advantage? No. Isn't the horsepower to it. Dad definitely has the horsepower to be running higher, but just doesn't have the traction because of all that power. Just one more turn to go, and Dedrick Schwartz will take a pretty commanding home victory here at the Nurburgring GP course. It is a podium lockout for European vehicles, and Schwartz is the winning driver of record from Germany. But then the next European is down there in ninth in the form of Morris Zalna. Followed closely by Dom DePrisco, who I think, other than our winner, was probably the biggest mover, since I believe he started 14th. He ends up 10th. Might have even started lower than that. It's a great day for... or it's a decent day for two Europeans, a victory for one, and then forgettable for three of them. You're here for the third race of the European Circuit Tours. Although this one's not even a real track, this is deep forest. Although, according to the game, this isn't Switzerland, so it counts. The camera on board with Kogata Tatara, who immediately has a surprise moment from her Jaguar. And I see something, a bit of a mess up here somewhere. Oh yeah, I think I see. O'Reilly is just out of control. Loses a place to Ryan Stevens from that. We have a better selection of Europeans on hand this time. Two leaders, included Dom DePrisco and Ryan Wolf. Thomas O'Reilly, who is technically Scottish, not from the UK. Eric Wojciechowski, who's technically Icelandic, not Finnish. Stephanie Kaiser. Gina Turini finally runs a race. Dodrick Schwartz makes another attempt at it. Melissa Weiss, same thing, and Lynette Malsan completes the European grid, so there's a much better balance of that now. And this is technically a 725 race, however, there are quite a few 675s on the grid. As Thomas O'Reilly gets air heading towards turn 1. The Cobra is a terrifying vehicle to drive, but just as honestly, it's terrifying to watch this thing be driven, let alone drive it, I'm sure. The oldest man in the series gives himself just a greater risk of heart attack by using it. As snap oversteer, oh my god. She kept a hold of that. We're gonna pretend I didn't just do that. Man, that was stone cold oversteer right there. I think she maybe knew it was coming though. She was more than prepared for that. Maybe it was intentional. Either way, impressive car control demonstrated from the F-Type driver. Wojciechowski is pretty much close enough to spit on Ryan Stevens' rear wing. Kogasa appears and just storms ahead of the both of them. There's a contact back here somewhere. There's contact there. Wojciechowski is allowed to get ahead of Stevens following the hairpin. Wow, 190 almost. As we head towards turn 1. Just barely gets it stopped and doesn't run Ryan Wolf over in the process. We'll be a little more planted on the corner exits too. For now. Also gets down. Jake Scarborough's inside. He's powerless to prevent the maneuver from being finished. It's time for a drag race for the lead down towards the hairpin. The drag race which the F-Type definitely won. Does DeFrisco try late braking techniques? No. Scarborough definitely does, and he gets right down to the inside of the Ferrari. He gets the better exit, and so he takes the spot away. Hanukkah lost out to Ryan Wolf after getting the better exit courtesy of all-wheel drive. Not quite how I expected to see battling for last. Same with Mulsanne, that should be doing better. It is an even 9-9 split between 675s and 725s, so those categories have already shuffled themselves out. The top 9 is all the 725s, the bottom 9 is the 675s. Wolf is struggling for car control. And Kogasa's starting to kind of get away with this race. while Dominic DePrisco make a return dive bomb on the Mercedes ahead. I don't know if he'll even be close enough to try if he wants to. Oh, I guess he is. He is indeed going to do that. He gets to the inside. Who gets the better exit? Meanwhile, behind them, Eric Wojciechowski will take the place away from the NSX of Kosaka, who presumably just bogged down on corner exit. Or perhaps Eric did a dive bomb of his own. We reached the last lap of the race. DePrisco failed his attempt at overtaking Scarborough. Ryan Wolf washes up, slides. Eric also slides. Much to the fortune of the McLaren SLR, as otherwise I think Wojciechowski would have probably gotten ahead of him if he did slide. Second through seventh are pretty much under a blanket. As Kogasa is ahead, for sure, but not so far ahead that it seems undoable. Will DePrisco have a chance to try again into this final hairpin of the race? It's going to be anyone's last chance to make any moves if they so want. He's going to go for it. Ryan Wolf is forced to just simply wait this out. He will be relegated to P4. Drag race for second, but I think DePrisco is going to be second place, and Kogasa Tutara is going to take a huge victory at Deep Forest, and I think like only her second or third appearance in the series so far. It is once again European cars that control the European circuit tours, with the entire top 5 being comprised of vehicles from Europe. But only 3 of those top 5 are actually European drivers. And then as for the 675 drivers, it's much the same, as the European vehicle driven by the European driver will lead them. Stephanie Kaiser's Porsche wins out of the best of the 675 cars. Followed by an American car driven by an American driver, and then a Japanese car driven by a Japanese driver. Perfectly balanced, as all things should be. And we once again have European drivers with a forgettable day. The bottom 3 all being as such. Italian, and then 2 French. They lost the battle. For the 4th and final European Circuit Tour event, we have the Red Bull Ring with an open class event. Any car can participate as long, as long as it's a road car, really. European vehicles were encouraged to show up. Not a lot. Not very many of them. The POV is Tyler McIntosh, who sends it on 2 people at the same time. But bogged down by traction control on that Hellcat. Needs a pitiful exit from turn 2, which is basically a non-stick frying pan. As I think it's like the F1 games like Codemasters will refer to it as. It's got so little grip, it might as well be a non-stick frying pan. I got a superior exit over Wojciechowski. I put myself up a place from where I started. And it is also, I believe, it is a random grid, for the most part. Actually, no it isn't. I think it was 725s, then 750s. And then the 675s at the bottom. Despite all the traction in the world from an all-wheel drive car, Stillwell loses it. McIntosh sends the outside of him and then the inside of Hoshizora in her Viper. The Hellcat has more horsepower than the Viper, as hilarious as that kind of sounds. Kind of sad at the same time. And now McIntosh will catch the other Viper. Just scream ahead of the NSX driver. Tyler will attempt to do the same, moving in the braking zone a little bit, but I think it's allowed if you're clear. Which he definitely was. The NSX not as bogged down by traction control, but once the Charger can grip up, it takes off. The 750s have not made such rapid progress, as the top 4 are still 725 cars. Cameron Walker leads the 750 cars, ahead of Burt Wheeler and everyone else. Alice Carson and James Stowell have been the 725 to the... or no, Stowell's the 750, so just Alice Carson is the struggling 725 in this race, probably because of low horsepower figures compared to the rest. Picture battle between the 725 categories. Scarborough went around the outside of the Prisco, but failed to get the proper exit needed to make that stick. They're almost too wide at the next corner. Scarborough will sort of fake a dive. Burt will push Cam right off the circuit as he attempts to pack past the Audi driver. After the corner exit, the Camaro's horsepower just carries him away. Eric Wojciechowski will follow him through. I missed something there. Oh. Oops. We're going to make a bit of contact at the corner exit, that concertina from those two ahead. That's really hard to put really hard to analyze this crash. I guess, I mean, I don't actually know how do I frame this incident, because, like, I'm not playing as me. I don't know what my AI self was thinking. This would be a lot easier if the roles were inversed, because then I could speak on my own behalf of what happened, but I'm definitely the one that causes this. I get a slightly better exit. I am basically clear, but then I'm not. Panicking, trying to give Tyler space. I shake the car too much and put him in the grass. And the Hellcat is toast. Sure, I'll hear about that later somehow, some way. It won't be the first time Tyler's called me an asshole. It won't be the last. Now the 750s are making their progress up the field as Glachel's getting find himself wide there or something. I don't even know what just happened there. Jake Scarborough is falling down the order, and Burt Wheeler is attempting to pioneer his way through the remaining 725s, albeit seemingly at his own pace. The Hellcat, I can tell you as the person who had to drive the thing here, is a pain to drive. It has way too much power for its own good. Okay. Honestly fair. Oh, yep, I should have seen that coming. Oh. Really should have seen that coming, actually, because it just involved me. Yeah, in case anybody does not remember Trial Mountain, Tyler McIntosh absolutely did. And I have had a camera issue trying to find the onboard camera, there we go. I am done being foolish. And Tyler just gives him the old pit maneuver and spins Cam right into me. He just did like a mirrored Brian Vickers. He also gets into the back of Głoszczowski at the braking zone for 1. I guess that makes everybody even. And now he will screech ahead of both Ferraris. I will follow him ahead of the one Ferrari, but Eric is too far ahead. Eric on the outside of Scarborough with a bold braking maneuver. Scarborough slides up the track. There's again that non-stick frying pan effect going on. You can see this closing rate on the ZL1, the most powerful car in the series at the moment. The Camaro ZL1 packing 900 horsepower. I actually think Tyler's might be second highest. I think it's got like 740 or something. And he's gonna attempt the outside on the Camaro. Burt slides up a bit. Places Tyler on that inside curb, but uses Kosaka as a pick, and he will pass Vert Wheeler. He's sitting on Thomas O'Reilly. He certainly does into the last corner. Usually not a typical passing zone for races here at the Red Bull Ring, but I guess we are just built different here in the Challenge Series. Easily outdrag that NSX. Burt has had enough. He attempts to send it on Thomas O'Reilly from several car lengths back. I don't really see if that was necessary. Vert will do so again, and I will follow him. Eric will be trapped behind Thomas. Vert then forces the Cobra off of the track and even gets a run on McIntosh. So, Vert Wheeler, with like 2/3 of Red Bull Ring to go, will take the lead back from McIntosh. Tyler attempts late braking. Vert moves a little bit in the braking zone, I believe. Meanwhile, I did not clear the Cobra. I'll have to do it the hard way now, or I'll just accidentally get into him. But in my own mistakes, I allowed Eric to almost get around me. Dead heat through whatever corner this is. Meanwhile, up ahead, more contact between the two lead modern muscle cars. I clear O'Reilly on the exit of that final right-hander, that little right-hander there. McIntosh with a desperate send. It about works. Vert attempts to turn McIntosh. Doesn't work, but the Camaro gets a better exit. Tyler attempts a NASCAR decision. It fails. Vert's car is too heavy, and Vert Wheeler will win at the Red Bull Ring at a race to the line. It's quite a chaotic final European Circuit Tour event. And I am out of breath. Thomas O'Reilly, leading a couple of categories. He's the leading European driver in the field, and he's also the leading 725 in the field, beating out half of the 750s. He beat Eric, Cam, and Reen, and James Stillwell, who are all in 750 cars. Alice Carson definitely took the L here, and Dedrick Schwartz is victorious amongst the 675 crowd. As the 675 crowd, which is 5 European drivers, and Natsuki Narashi, who I believe showed up to every race in this championship. A couple of people did that, actually. Actually, no. I'm looking at the grid and looking up and down the running order. I think, yeah, Natsuki Narashi is the only person who, she showed up to the 625 in her Silady, she showed up to the 675, yeah, she showed up to then the last 3 races in that RX-7. She doesn't have anything higher category-wise than 675 available to her, so she couldn't exactly compete for the win anywhere other than at race 2 back in, where was that? Nurburgring. She didn't really do it then either. She had a very okay finish. But despite being in Europe, Natsuki was the only one who showed up to all 4 races. And now we head on to the potluck event, which, quite ironically, is also in Europe. Which, that wasn't even intentional, that was a random chance type of thing. We have arrived in the final race of the episode, the potluck, has randomly drawn possibly one of the weirdest tracks it could have ended up at. The reverse test course layout of Alsace. A track that's like just over a mile long. We're going to fit 20 cars on it of completely different performance characteristics. And chaos will ensue. The POV is on Barbara Page in her C7 Stingray. The car which she for some odd reason decided to not use at the Red Bull Ring. I'm not really sure why. She could have raced for the overall win rather than the 675 win, which she also got nowhere near anyway. Not even a lap in the books, and she's already up into 9th. Already up into 8th, ahead of Alice Carson now as well. The Corvette is angry, clearly. This is a weird circuit, to say the least. There's a lot of banking, and there's a lot of elevation change. Hi, Colin Morris. Boxed in by a Ford Focus. I sense the leads will be changing hands in the not-so-distant future, as that's a 750 car attempting to pass a 675. And down the inside will make it happen. Johnny Parker's the leader, but his Corvette driving rival in the 750 category is not far away, only having to pass Stephanie and Maki to encroach upon his territory. Gets ahead of the Porsche through this weird Dover clone, but finds some grass. Overestimated the car there, I would say. Maki kinda goes wide and then kinda doesn't. Some weird driving from the Gran Turismo. From the Maserati, that just sounds confusing, so I'm just not gonna do that again. As Reen attempts to get around her fellow idle competitor, and, well, 2-category difference between the 2 cars makes that, well, not easy, but simple. It wasn't hard, for sure. There are cars in every category in this event. There are actually 3 575s in it. No, Emmy is not a 575, it's a 625. I'm dumb. I drove it earlier. I should know what category it's in, and yet here I am, being a fool. Looks like Barbara has finally kicked it into overdrive, as I think she's probably catching up to Johnny Parker here pretty quickly. In due time, we shall have the Corvette 1v1 that nobody asked for, but other than really me. We're only missing, where was anyone? Because the other Corvette driver is Barbara, and she has her Stingray concept. We are technically missing Riley, I guess, but like, the C4 Corvette's not in the 750, like these two are. So it wouldn't be fair. Yeah, Barbara's figuring out the circuit now. It took her a moment, but now that she's got it figured out, she is definitely getting up to Parker. Even though Reen is actually the fastest car on track right now, if that fastest lap is an indication. Maki is continuing to struggle on traction zones, but not being made to pay for it as suddenly Ryan Stevens appears and will take the both of them on one straightaway. Oh, now here we go. Barbara just absolutely shoots on the outside. But if Johnny Parker knows how to do one thing, it's banked corners. As there's already lap traffic going to get involved, but Barbara Page gets such a big exit out of that corner that she might have taken it a little differently, a little slowly, but she slingshots ahead of Parker and into the lead. Frederick Schwartz in his 575 Golf as a brief inconvenience for the leading Corvettes. And Reen, I guess you should have bought a Corvette. And Ryan Stevens. It is an all-American top four, at least as far as vehicles. Even though two of them are not actually American drivers. Reen's Japanese, Barbara German. But Parker is certainly doing his best to stay with the later gen Corvette. They have very different philosophies of attacking this circuit, and that's kind of making it a bit of a tug of war between the two of them. Barbara passes the Emmy, the driver whom she actually gets confused for in appearance on multiple occasions. Especially if you only see their their heads, they kind of look similar. They both have pale blonde hair, and they both usually got the pigtails look going. That makes 5 of them. The Corvette's not completely done with Barbara yet. Obviously, Barbara is trying to push away from Parker, but the 7th gen Corvette has some arguments. As we approach some more traffic ahead, I think it's Marvin Manuel. I don't know who's in front of him. Looks like it might be Melissa Weiss ahead of him. No, it's Ellie ISA. I think Weiss isn't even in the race. No. Page just sends it on multiple cars. I guess this is the most effective form of aggressive driving. You know, don't hit anybody, but you put a lot of lap traffic between you and the other Corvette. Interesting. Beginning the final minute or so of the race. I believe that this will mark basically 2 laps remaining. Oh, Melissa Weiss is in the race. She's just doing a lot better than I thought she was. She's in 10th place, battling with another Toyota driver in the form of Chill Gemini. Or Darius Ravel. There are a lot of 675s in this event. 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 of them. 7 of them. Otto is just really not doing very well. It's the final lap. Stephanie Kaiser, who I believe started near the back, has at least made her way to the lead of the 675 vehicles, ahead of Maki now, who started on pole in this race. Like, overall pole, obviously couldn't stay ahead of the likes of Reen or Parker, or Barbara, who heads into the last meaningful corner. Planted on the exit, Barbara Page is going to win the potluck race at the shortest track we've raced on so far, here at Alsace, not Village, Alsace Test Course. Parker completes the Corvette 1-2. Reen should have bought a Corvette, but gets third. And then a Ford in fourth. Stephanie leads the 675 category, and Alex Carson nearly beat a 675 to win the 625 class in her S2K. And Scott Webber wins the 2-car race for 575 down there in his 240 ZG. So that will conclude matters here in this episode of the Challenge Series. You know, European circuit tours have come to an end, and so has the Stars and Stripes Invitational. So logically, I think you can probably guess what the next episode's going to be. If you can't, get your head out of the clouds. It's not that hard to figure out. It's the only region we haven't done yet.